Hello, my name is Frederica or Freddy if you are new here. Today you are joining me for a yin yoga session. You can choose this practice to be anywhere between 30 to 60 minutes depending on the holds. I'll give you more details in the description, so have a look, and there's also suggested times on the screen with each pose. Friendly reminder, if you've got any ongoing conditions or injuries, discuss this with your healthcare provider before you do this practice to make sure if there's any accommodations, any adjustments or anything to avoid, you are aware of it. Props, blocks, blankets, cushions, bolsters would be lovely to have, anything to make the poses easier to hold. We are looking at the spine today, starting off with dangling, or also known as forward fold. This is a lovely flexion, so rounding forward for the spine. You can use a bolster or blocks underneath the hands to support yourself. You can also dangle, sway side to side, or give yourself a big hug. Second pose will be a seated squat, so we're supporting ourselves sitting onto some form of props. I'm using a bolster. Feet are really wide, toes pointing out to the side and the knees also pointing sideways, so you have plenty of space between the legs. You can use the elbows to lightly push them out to the side. You can also rock a little bit in this pose. If you'd like, you can fold forward for flexion, brings a nice sensation into the groins as well, the inner thighs, or you can focus to stay a little bit more upright and pulling up from the length of the spine, from the crown of the head, whilst the sitting bones, tailbone point a little bit behind you instead. After this, we are going into Dragonfly, also known as Straddle. We're going to lean to each leg for a couple of minutes, and final version will be leaning in between, so folding in between the two legs. 2 to 3 minutes on each side, and I would recommend to slide some props, either a block or maybe a blanket underneath your knees, so you're not overstretching and you are being mindful of the depth. Maybe starting at your 60 to 70% range and over time developing in the pose naturally with your breath, with gravity, without any sort of push. I like to support my head with my bottom hand, and I like to have a cushion or a bolster underneath just so I have a bit more height for this. Once you've completed both sides and the middle, you're then going to rebound with windshield vipers, which is essentially just nodding the knees side to side and giving a moment to the body to recover after the poses. You can also find a bit of stillness laying down on your back or laying on your front body. For your next pose, we have either caterpillar or snail. You could do both, but you can also just choose one. They are essentially the same thing. We are looking at lovely deep flexion on the spine, so good amount of rounding. For caterpillar, it's a forward fold, leaning over a bolster or some cushions underneath the knees. You can have more props to support your head and your upper body in case the ground feels a little bit too far today. You can also sit onto a small blanket, a folded blanket, to aid the folding of the hips. The inverted version of this is laying down. It's essentially like going into a shoulder stand, but bringing the legs over the head, so the toes, the feet can lean on the ground behind your head. Two different options. The arms can stay on the mat, pointing to the front of the mat, or you can bring them where your toes are going, behind your head. But be mindful not to bring weight into the neck or create any sort of pain around the neck and shoulders. Make sure you are really supported. You can have the bolster behind your back as well, if that makes it a little bit more comfortable for you. Next up, we are looking at sort of the opposite movement of the spine. So we are looking a little bit at extension and lateral flexion, so side flexion. Coming into bridge pose, the hips are sitting on top of a bolster, and you extend the legs and arms, or you can have the hands holding onto your belly. After this, we're going to follow it up with a twist combined with Bananasana or Crescent moon shape. So for the twist, we're going to have one leg long, the other leg bent, knee leaning over onto one side. You can have support underneath the knee, as I'm showing on this video. It can be a block or a bolster. And you want to tilt the head away from the knee that you're looking at, if that's okay with your neck. And for your Bananasana, your crescent moon-like shape, it is what it sounds like. You're creating this crescent moon-like shape with the body. Feet, arms in the same corners of the mat. So bringing the feet to the left, also the arms to the left in that case. But can you keep the hips and your shoulders grounded and relaxed on the ground, rather than them peeling up? Once you've done this on one side, the 2 poses, then do it on the other side. So twist on the other side, do crescent moon on the other side. Finishing up your practice with corpse pose Shavasana, you support yourself with bolster underneath the knees or bolster on the chest, or perhaps both. Cover yourselves with any blankets, and afterwards you spend here maybe 4, 5, 8 minutes. You can be there up to 10 minutes if you like. You're going to come out to one side fetus pose. You're going to lay there for a few breaths, observe the body, and then coming up to a seated breathing practice. You can count your breath, inhale 4, exhale 5 or 6, to really feel that sense of grounding down before ending your practice with a little bit of gratitude. Notice the journey your body went on, notice the journey your mind went on, how you feel energetically after dedicating time to your well-being. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope this video serves you well. In the description box, like I said, there's more details that you can look at and how to make this practice your own. See you in the next one. Bye!